I recently decided to go for a walk, but unfortunately due to some recent rain, the trail ahead had been blocked off by this river. Usually it wasn't a problem to cross, but now you can see it just wasn't gonna happen. This wasn't the first time I'd encountered this problem, and usually I just turn around or pick another trail, but for some reason today I decided to create a long-term solution. I eventually decided that a bridge would be a fun challenge, so I went home, grabbed a tape measure, and drove back to the trailhead to get some measurements. My current plan was failing abysmally, so I decided to try my luck in the river. So I took off my shoes, and it's here that I saw the glass littering the ground.
Oh, there's glass.
It still didn't work. After a while, I just kind of gave up and walked home. I hoped that what I lacked in measurements I'd make up for in instinct. My crude plan was to create 2 beams that would lay parallel across the width of the river, and then on top of those I'd just throw a few planks to step on. This also happened at some point. I don't remember it happening, though. The next step was to load the car. I wouldn't have been able to carry the fully assembled bridge on my own, so I had to carry it in pieces down to the river and assemble it when I got there. The first step was to create supports for the bridge, and this log was the first obvious candidate. It was a long process. After about 15 minutes of pushing, I got the log where it needed to be, and then came a 10-minute break to get the feeling back into my feet. Since there were no other obvious logs laying around, I resorted to sourcing rocks to finish propping up the first and then the second beam. Really, all that was left now was to hammer on those slats, and as my sketchbook diagram became a semi-permanent installation, I started to feel a bit exposed hammering away. To be honest, I didn't really know who owned the property. All I really knew was that people liked to walk on that trail, and so did I, and this was a problem that needed to be solved. Ultimately, I hoped others would see it the same and not think that I was a vandal. As the hours went by, I started to think about why I was putting in so much effort. I thought about the time I wanted to go for a walk with my girlfriend, but because of the water levels we had to turn around, and I was bummed because I couldn't show her one of my favorite spots. I continued on, thinking about the things I'd seen on my own hikes, things like zip lines and tire swings, and how people had created a solution for their own problem but had put in the extra effort to make it last for those to come, and those who might even need the solution more than they did. I began thinking that if I encounter a problem that requires a solution, I'm kind of obliged to create one that works for other people and not just myself. A first come, first solve type of thing. After running out of time, I returned 2 days later with more planks, more nails, and the same hammer. After a while, I noticed that gap you see at the end of the bridge and realized that you had to jump to get back onto land. I decided to move it. Why the was I putting in so much effort into this thing? Then I realized that just because I can get across doesn't mean someone else can, so I put in the work. Just like that, I had a working bridge. It held my weight and was somewhat secure. I don't know. I still kept thinking back to the whole standing out thing, and so eventually decided to use some old wood to decorate it. I realized how stupid of a concern this was, it being a wooden bridge in a forest, but it was a fun process, so I guess it was worth it. Soon enough, my mom showed up to check on my project. She sheepishly told me that we had knee-high boots in the garage and that my feet were freezing needlessly. I couldn't help but laugh. To be honest, it was just kind of nice to have someone see and validate my work. I felt like I'd put in a lot of effort. It was nice. Soon after my mom left, a really nice woman named Julia showed up. She was on a walk and said she lived in the area. She mentioned that she'd often wanted to cross that section of river, but because of the water and the related dangers, it was impractical. Thank you, Julia, for being the inaugural passenger on my bridge and for making me feel like I was doing a good thing. When I finally finished, my feet were so cold that I could barely move my toes. Anyway, with the construction complete, I plan to come back the next day to get some cinematic B-roll and make up for the low-quality cell phone footage. I was excited. Shortly after sunset, I was driving home and happened to pass the bridge, so I decided to stop and check it out. I'd never seen it at night. It wasn't there. It was gone. In the 5 hours it had been since I last saw it, someone had taken it, and there was no trace of it. More than anything, I was just upset that I hadn't gotten to use the bridge for the thing I had built it for, which was crossing the river during a hike. I had crossed the river about 50 times making it, but never in pursuit of the nature that it was trying to connect me to. I guess Julia got to use it, though, which makes it okay. I'm glad someone got to. I came back anyway, with a better camera and an audio recorder, hoping to capture the sounds and scenes that had calmed me while I built the bridge. Here they are, and I hope you enjoyed them.